Welcome to All In for Estacada Schools. Joined by School Superintendent Ryan Carpenter, we'll be taking an in-depth look into the work, the data, the wins, and the fun that's happening every day in the Estacada School District.
Hey, welcome back and happy Monday. I'm Ryan Carpenter and I proudly serve as your superintendent for the Estacada School District. This is a very big podcast today as we, the Estacada School District, roll out our back to school draft plans for next fall. I look forward to diving deep today about what schools will look like next year. So if you're driving, if you're running on the treadmill, or doing your usual podcast routines, let's dig in together and go all in for Estacada Schools.
What are you most excited about for this summer?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that it's great just to have a summer this year. Last year, we were scrambling so hard and fast to make sure that we were working through all of the safety plans of what school would look like this very last school year in the height of the pandemic and the ensuing wildfire. So to have a summer is definitely a step in the right direction. But I'm most excited this summer to just allow our principals to be able to have the opportunity to build normal class schedules and assign kids to teachers in classrooms with less restrictions, and just to provide that consistency for our families and our principals as they build a plan for a great next school year. And then for personal summer, I'm looking forward to getting back out and taking my family to campgrounds and just doing some things that we traditionally used to do that we can get back into doing again. So it's nice to be back in summer.
Hot Topics.
So it is without a doubt the hot topic of the Estacada School District this week is the Ready Schools Safe Learning Plan, or the Estacada School District Safety Protocols that was released publicly to the Estacada community and all families last week. I'm excited to dive a little bit deeper into this document so that you can conceptually prepare for what your child's school experience will be like next fall as they return to school. And so I'm going to go through each section of this document and just kind of hit the highlights and maybe a little bit of the why as we go through this. And I hope that this will dispel some myths or some questions, as well as talk a little bit about how the Estacada School District arrived at its decision. So as we talk about school days and instructional time next year, it's important to note that the Estacada School District will be returning to full-time school 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Like pre-COVID times, we will still be returning back to an early release Wednesday, allowing 2 hours per day for our employees to have the opportunity to look at student learning data, work with their collaborative professional learning communities, and make instructional adjustments and provide them that time to make the strategic and surgical instructional adjustments to meet the need of your child. And so Monday through Friday next year, we're going to have a normal calendar and a normal bell schedule, and we're returning back to campus full-time 5 days a week with early release Wednesdays. We are going to be moving back to our virtual snow days, which is also in our policies, policy EBCD. And we look forward to when we can forecast inclement weather. We are better equipped today than ever before to be able to quickly pivot our school district to virtual learning so that we don't have to make up more time in the summer to make up those school days during inclement weather time. So looking forward to that. Attendance policies are going to remain the same as they were to pre-COVID times. So all of the attendance and compulsory attendance laws now come back into effect with full force. And so we will be keeping track of your child's attendance rate. They are required by law to attend some form of education, in this case, public education at the Estacada School District. So even if students are sent home for quarantine or are not present at the school, they will be marked in accordance with that, our school district will not be doing any comprehensive distance learning. And so some of the virtual charter school attendance laws that we were able to utilize last year will no longer be in effect. So they will either be present or marked not present, and attendance laws apply, which includes the 10 or more consecutive absences could lead to truancy in violation of state and county ordinances. The big one that I know everybody is talking about is face coverings. And the Estacada School District Ready Schools Safe Learning document does make it optional for students and staff pre-K through 12th grade to wear face coverings or not when inside a school building. So we are now moving the freedom of choice back to our families and back to our employees on if they would like to wear a face covering or not. I do need to state that the Estacada School District recommends that students and or adults who have yet to be vaccinated, the school district recommends that they wear face coverings. But at the end of the day, that decision is solely a parental decision, as well as it is solely an employee and or adult decision. And they have the freedom to make those choices. It is important to note that it's going to be very critical that our school district creates and promotes a culture of welcoming acceptance for any choice that a child and or family makes. If a child and or family makes a decision to send their child to school with a face mask, we need to accept that, celebrate that, and welcome that. If a family or child chooses not to wear a face mask on campus next year, our school district needs to accept that, welcome that, and support that throughout the process. And the same goes for our employees. So I am going to be asking for your help to educate and prepare your child to be on campus next year with a diversity of those wearing masks and those not wearing masks. And we need to be accepting of all of it so that we can get to the thing that is most important, and that is teaching your kids and providing a great quality education. Physical distancing is also something that we need to take a deeper dive into. It is recommended from the Ready Schools Safe Learner or state guidance document that we try to keep students in a 3 feet physical distancing space as much as possible per the guidance. However, we understand that as we go back to engaging in best practice teaching routines, that we are not going to be able to always maintain those distancing, and that's okay. We're going to do it to the best of our ability. Our employees are going to work hard to always keep distancing at the forefront, but at the end of the day, we need to go back to offering best practice education, which includes working in small groups, which requires us to do different things in PE, music, and during lunchtime capacities. And so we as a school district are making that determination to do the social distancing to the best of our ability, but not to compromise what we need to do for what we believe is best practice for our kids and our building's capacity. And so again, this is why I recommend that if you are unvaccinated or are feeling uncomfortable, we recommend that a face covering is preferred to make sure that when we are inside that 3 feet social distancing, that at least you have that protective layer. But that being said, this is a parental choice and it's an adult choice, and the Estacada School District promotes and is excited to move that choice to the individual family unit. Meal service will resume as normal. In the past, if you'll recall, we had to move some breakfast at the elementary school to classrooms into different spaces to accommodate the social distancing. All meals will now be going back to its regular schedules and routines. Cohorting is important only to note because cohorting is the way that we're going to track our students for contact tracking. So if a child and or adult does come in positive with COVID-19, it's the cohorting process that's going to allow us to monitor who truly was exposed and who was not. It is important to note, though, that this year cohorting is not going to be used for any educational or access decision points. So high school and middle school students are going to resume a normal schedule, a normal best schedule with 4 periods, 8 periods, 6 periods a day, passing time, etc. And we're going to use normal routines and schedules for that. We are just going to use cohorting in the back end to make sure that we're keeping track of who we need to inform in case exposure occurs, because we know that it will. Quarantining is going to be a big one that is still going to be an inconvenience. I know this to a lot of our families as well as the school district. However, the quarantining process is still required by state law. And so if a child is exposed to within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes, the Estacada School District is still required to send that child and or employee home for a mandatory 10-day quarantining process. And so I'm telling you this now so that you can leave your schedule and or have an emergency contact ready to go next school year in case your son or daughter or grandchild needs to be quarantined for any various reason. Any child and or employee who is not vaccinated will need to go home for a 10-day quarantining process. The Estacada School District is working actively right now to put together a great process to ensure that all students who are home on quarantine still have equitable access to their education through that process. And so at the elementary level, it's going to look a little bit different. At the secondary level, we are going to be able to use our Zoom room technologies to allow kids to access that. But more specific details on quarantining and educational opportunities in the quarantine process will be released specifically to families, and it will be coming to you from the building level. So it is important to note that quarantining is still a thing. I imagine the Estacada School District will still have to go through frequently the quarantining processes, and I just want to make sure that parents still have the mindset that is ready for us to take action on quarantine as we return back to the new year. One question that we do receive is comprehensive distance learning. If I want to continue with my child receiving education 100% of the time virtually, is the Estacada School District still offering those services? And I'm here to declare today that it is not the intention of the Estacada School District to offer any type of full-time comprehensive distance learning services for the 21-22 school year. So if you enjoyed receiving your education from home 100% of the time last year, we strongly encourage you to seek those educational opportunities elsewhere. There's a lot of public charter schools out there throughout the state of Oregon. I highly recommend Summit Learning Charter. They're a great partner of ours. They're located in the Eagle Creek community, inhabiting Eagle Creek Elementary School, and they are open for service. So if that model worked best for you and your family this year, I encourage you to go in that direction. We're going to begin reverting back to being a public education sector that welcomes all students who walk inside its doors, and we can best offer the best educational experience by doing that in person and supporting all of our students and their needs. So I look forward to working with kids in person next year, and there are different services out there if you are continuing to look for a different educational model at the moment. Vaccines. Superintendent Carpenter, I'm going to ask us in a question. Are students going to be required to show evidence of vaccination? And my answer to that is a hard no. At this point, the Estacada School District will not be asking its students, its staff, and or visitors for any type of vaccination as a condition of their enrollment in this school district and or their employment of this school district. We may, however, be contacting families and or staff members when they've been exposed to the virus, if they have been vaccinated or not, because that's the difference of them going home for 10 days or them being able to stay in the building for 10 days. So again, families are free to offer yes or no to that question, but vaccination is not going to be contingent and or a requirement for enrollment and or employment. Again, that's a family's choice if they want to vaccinate or not. And at this point, it is not the school district's role or responsibility to support that or get in the way of that in any way or not. Pre-entry screenings. This is another very important one because I've seen a lot of emails and or anytime I'm in the grocery store, I know that filling out that daily pre-screening form is not necessarily a popular topic amongst families. However, it is still very important for the Estacada School District for you to continue that practice. We need you to screen your child to make sure they are symptom-free prior to them coming to campus. And I want to just hunker on this for a second. I know I've been talking for a long time here, so a lot of people are probably glazed over at this point. But it's important to hunker down on this for a specific second, and I want you to think about it from this context. We all have a role to play in terms of making sure that our children are symptom-free prior to coming onto campus. The reason why this is important is because if we accidentally send somebody to school positive of COVID-19, because face masks are optional, because we're trying to put all kids back into the regular classroom, if a child does have positive COVID-19, it means we're going to be sending a lot of kids unvaccinated, especially elementary level kids, home for 10 quarantine days. And so the more vigilant we can be in the front end of that is going to minimize the disruption to the educational process. And so I'm asking you again, I know it's not popular, but we need you to do this because it's the one check spot that we have where we're a team. You're on our team and we're counting on you to just quickly ask those questions and make sure that you're not sending your child to school or that somebody else is not sending their child to school, which could potentially impact you, your workday, or what your next 10 days look like. And so it's something we've got to do together. However, there is an opt-out from this process. If you or your child if your child has been vaccinated, and right now from middle school age up, those students have at least the opportunity to be vaccinated. You can check that box that says, my child has been vaccinated, and we will stop sending you that daily screener because at that point it is null and void because your child has been vaccinated. And so there is a way to make that stop, and it's to check that box when it comes out. But at the end of the day, we need your help and support in the pre-entry screenings. We will no longer be screening students as they walk onto campus. We will no longer be taking temperatures as they enter the doors. We're going to be welcoming and greeting all students in a face mask and without a face mask as they enter our schools. So we're really counting on you to take care of that today. Last couple of things I just want to point out. We will be welcoming our visitors and volunteers to come back onto our campus and help close our reading gaps, help participate in recess events and other school events. We missed our visitors and our volunteers last year, and we're so excited to have them come back onto campus. State testing is going to resume again next year, and so you can count on your child taking the Smarter Balance Assessment, the SEEDS assessment, which is the student student education development survey, and lastly, the NAEP national assessment as well. So you can count on the assessments coming back into play next year. And then last but not least, I know there's been a couple of questions about collective bargaining agreements and or teachers' contracts and certified contracts. It is the Estacada Schools District's intention to resume the current collective bargaining agreements that we had prior to COVID. And so we look forward to working with our employment organizations as we continue to move Estacada District forward as we come out of this pandemic together. So I know it was a lot to digest. I hope that you were able to parcel the things that were important to you. I am sure that I also created a lot of questions inside your head, and there's different avenues for you to ask and answer and have those questions available to you. The draft that you received last week is just a draft. The Estacada School District is still collecting feedback before we make any final determinations. And so your input is very important here. In your email inbox, you should have had the opportunity to provide your feedback in a survey format. There are also different avenues through our district website or through our communications department to provide your input and feedback as well. So I encourage you to take us up on that. And I know that I'm scheduled for some Facebook Lives as well to answer those questions real time. So look forward to that conversation. This is in general what the Estacada School District will look like. There will be more specific school details that will be coming out to you throughout this, but this is the district level and what schools will look like from a district perspective next year. So thank you for putting up with that long, however, very important portion of our podcast today.
What's in Ryan's inbox?
Well, this week I received 1,051 emails, averaging 210 emails a day. One of the things I'm disappointed in this week is my average response time was 1 day and 13 hours. It's always my goal to respond back to our constituents and those who email me personally within 24 hours. So last week I was a little inundated with building our Ready Schools, Safe Learners, back to school plan, and I wasn't able to be as effective in responding back. That being said, here was the number one theme in my email box last week, and it was about transportation. So one of the things that is becoming a new practice for the Estacada School District is the school district will no longer be transporting elementary age students who live within a 1 mile radius of their assigned school building, and we will no longer be transporting middle school or high school students who live inside a 1.5 mile radius from their assigned school building. Now, this practice is relatively new to the Estacada community, as this is our second year doing these practices. However, it is very common throughout the United States. I want to take a couple of minutes to explain the law and how schools get reimbursed for transportation. So first and foremost, all school districts throughout the United States of Oregon are reimbursed 70 cents on the dollar for every dollar spent on transportation. And so as, for example, if a bus trip costs $100, we could turn that into the state and the federal government and get reimbursed $70 of that $100 trip. The difference in the law is that any transportation for athletics or any transportation inside a 1 mile radius for to and from school is not reimbursable. And so ultimately, any trip that we pick up kids inside the 1 mile radius is 100% at the expense of the school district. Estacada has done this service and have picked up kids on the taxpayers' dimes through at least my 11 years of being employed in this school district. However, that is very unique. Most school districts throughout the United States require all kids who live in neighborhoods within a mile of their school to walk to school. And so as we continue to grow as an Estacada community, we no longer have the capacity to pick up all students if they choose to ride a bus or not. And so we are slowly but surely moving our school district to be like most school districts around the United States, where students who do live inside that 1 mile radius for elementary students and 1.5 mile radius for middle school and high school students to begin walking and or riding their bike to their school setting. I look forward to working with our families and our community to make sure that this walk is safe and is efficient and effective for the families and the children who are walking. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to move towards the model of ensuring that kids are able to safely walk to school inside that 1 mile radius. And I look forward to having more dialogue with our community as we move through this process together. So that is the number one theme in my emails this week.
Fact.
Or fiction.
It's time once again for Fact or Fiction, where I address some of the conversations going on in our community and, most importantly, on social media. It's important that we continue to communicate the realities of what is going on in your school district and in your child's classroom. So today's topic that came from social media was a post that stated, pretty angrily, that school is starting before Labor Day this year. Why is that happening? I have to say, and with confidence and calmness, that social media post is fiction. We will be starting our school year on Wednesday, September 8th, which is after Labor Day. And you can review or view our calendars anytime on our website under the calendar section. And while we can't wait to welcome our kids back, I can tell you that this summer is shaping up to be a busy one, and we need every single day that's left on it to plan for a successful start to the school year. We always listen to our community, and we reflect our school's calendar based on our community's values. Our community has told us loud and clear that things like the county fair and other different events are very important to this community. And that is why we start our school year after Labor Day, and will continue to do so. So that post is fake news, and I wish you all the best this coming week. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity to continue to have an opportunity to communicate with you as we move our great school district to new heights and new levels. I say this, and I want to say this again. This is a great time to be in the Estacada community, and we'll see you next week.